I really try to minimize the hate or rage in my heart at any given moment, but this story really brings it. Right there. And it's not just the story itself, which I'll tell you about, but also, and specifically what's just so shocking, is the reaction from MAGA influencers who will conspiracy theorize about anything, who will do anything to blame, in this case, Tim Walz for his friend being killed, and Tim Walz, who is on the list of the shooter's targets. So what am I talking about? Well, as I'm sure you know, the Hortmans were murdered by Vance Bolter, who's the accused shooter. And in the wake of that, it became very clear that Vance Bolter, who had this list of Democrats and abortion providers and liberals of different kinds, dozens of people that he supposedly wanted to target, after already killing Melissa Hortman and her husband. Melissa Hortman was a state representative in Minnesota. He also shot a state senator and his wife, who survived. And he had this whole list of people he wanted to go after. Tim Walz was on that list, and it became abundantly clear what the political motivations were, if it wasn't clear enough with all the people who were on the list, which is that he was MAGA. He was a right-winger. He supported Trump. His roommate, his friend, said that he was a big-time Trump supporter. I'll keep saying that doesn't make it any more or less tragic. Regardless of the motive, this is just horrific violence. But in the immediate aftermath, MAGA jumped into action saying that it was a liberal. Just completely baselessly. Just before we knew anything, they started arguing that. I never get people's morals when they choose to do that. You would think this would be one of those rare circumstances where we would all have some sense of unity with one another, that we're all against this sort of violence. But then this comes out. The Daily Beast reports, MAGA madman blames Tim Walz for his murderous rampage. A letter was addressed to the FBI that was described as incoherent, difficult to follow, and in it, this individual, Vance Bolter, said that Tim Walz hired him to kill Amy Klobuchar so that Walz could run for the Senate, like a crazy person. But what's the reaction from MAGA? Oh, investigate Tim Walz. This lunatic, who, by the way, didn't target Klobuchar in this case, he must be exposing something real as opposed to being insane. Like also claiming that he was being secretly trained by the military. Alleged assassin Vance Bolter has claimed that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz instructed him to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar in a rambling letter addressed to the FBI, the Minnesota Star Tribune has reported. Bolter, who killed State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband and shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife earlier this month, claimed in the letter that Walz instructed him to carry out his killing so that Walz could run for Senate, which, if you know anything about politics, he's the governor of Minnesota. He's the governor. Even the theory doesn't follow that he wanted Klobuchar to die so that he could go be senator when he's currently the governor. And probably if he just ran against anyone with his name recognition and his popularity in Minnesota, he could win. And his friend Klobuchar is one of Minnesota's 2 sitting senators, having been elected to her 4th term last year. Walz, who ran as Kamala's vice presidential candidate last year, is not running for Senate. It might shock you to find out. The letter's reportedly 1.5 pages long and incoherent and hard to read, like it would be from somebody who would viciously take the life of innocent people. In it, Bolter alleges that he had been trained by the U.S. military off the books, and that Walz asked him to kill Klobuchar and several others. Senator Tina Smith and another senator from Minnesota was also named in the letter. And while unable to comment on the open investigation, it might also shock you to find out that law enforcement says there's no evidence of these allegations regarding Governor Walz. Yeah, I figured that one out. A spokesperson for Walz said on Friday afternoon that this tragedy continues to be deeply disturbing for all Minnesotans. Governor Walz is grateful to law enforcement who apprehended the shooter, and he's grateful to the prosecutors who will ensure justice is swiftly served. Klobuchar responded, and this is happening as the Hortmans' lives are being honored. I'll get to the MAGA reactions here in a second, but just a little bit more about this shooter. Suspect in Minnesota attacks was a doomsday prepper, investigator says. An FBI agent said Vance Bolter left instructions for his wife in the event of a calamity. The man accused of shooting Minnesota lawmaker and her husband last weekend have given his wife instructions for a bailout plan in the event the family ever needed to flee suddenly. I just don't even... Can we be adults? MAGA, please. And I'm not blaming every supporter. I'm sure most go. But just some of the influencers who will do anything for a click here and there. Really? Do we not have any just basic humanity here? Waltz's friend. In an affidavit unsealed on Friday, the agent said that the man charged in the shootings, Vance Bolter and his wife, were preppers, a term referring to people who believe a catastrophic event is imminent and go to great lengths to prepare for its arrival. So someone who had these doomsday theories and was preparing for it and was obviously mentally unstable, as any person would be who would do something like this, is now rambling about how he was secretly trained by the military and he was getting directions by Tim Walz to kill Klobuchar, which is why he went and killed somebody different. And people are running with it. The text stated something that he sent to his wife to the effect of they should prepare for war. They need to get out of the house and people with guns may be showing up to the house. So, disturbing. It gets more disturbing as this goes along. But as I show you these reactions from MAGA influencers, this is literally what Walz was doing. The lives impacted by Melissa's legacy as speaker will be measured in millions. Minnesota will never forget the Hortmans honoring the life of this member of their community. And does that induce any level of humanity? No. Here we go. Next order. Minnesota assassin Vance Bolters told the FBI in a letter that Tim Walz asked him, all caps, Tim Walz asked him to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar. This is why they hid the manifesto. No, they didn't. Does anyone know how investigations work? You don't immediately get you don't get access to every single thing investigators have. We need a full investigation now. Walz is actively covering this up. Look at that. I mean, not is he or just investigate, but he's being accused by MAGA of covering up the murder of a member of his community, somebody that he knew personally. Then another account, watch this, knowing Tim Walz knew the operation was a disaster. Vance Bolter was not eliminated as planned. People would soon know he also wanted Amy Klobuchar gone. Walz was totally nervous and more uncomfortable than usual. Tim Walz is in trouble. There's nothing that they won't do this with. Benny Johnson posting about it, getting more disturbing, blah, 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 blah. Now, on a more lighthearted note, as I try to bring to even this story, let's say that a politician wanted somebody murdered and engaged in such a plot. You think it would be this guy?
He's got a twist cone.
All right.
Twist cone. Who had chocolate malt? Twist cone. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Enjoy. Enjoy. Who's up? There we go. Oh, this is a big one. 2 chocolate malts. 2 chocolate malts. Got it.
I have met a lot of murderers in my day. A lot. I've never seen one like this.
There you go. Enjoy. Enjoy. Next, there we go. Twist cone. Twist cone. Grab the twist cone.
I have spent time with a lot of politicians who have had people murdered. A lot. A ton. None of them were like this.
Yes.
I have a picture to have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody. I see that.
Do you think a guy who could plan the murder of his friend does this when he waves? Do you think that's how he waves? It's not. I'm trying, but I'm so upset about this. I'm so upset. When someone who's obviously, you think if the roles were reversed, they would at all run with that story, or they would go, wow, this person's mentally unstable, trying to blame Walz. Because this guy is MAGA, obviously. So in a sick sense, maybe I'm sure he follows some of these influencers. He probably knows exactly what happens whenever you throw that out. It's just the best fuel for their conspiratorial fire. As we continue through this, if you do appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button. as a reminder, everybody, I want to get a clip of Bill Maher here in a second, but we're doing a live show, and I really want to see you all there. It is a really difficult time, and I think there will be something I'm excited for, just sharing a space with people who have similar principles. I need that for my soul. So that was a big part why we scheduled it, is so I can meet all of you. I'll obviously be doing stuff and speaking, and there'll be music and stuff. But the part I'm most excited about is meeting you, Austin, Texas, July 5th, little patriotic July 4th type celebration at the Hyatt Regency in Austin. LukeBeasleyShow.com/live, linked in the description. So here's Bill Maher with a Republican congressman just trying to get him to admit to a basic fact, which is that the shooter is a Trump guy. Does that mean it's Trump's fault? Does that mean that you can't be a Trump supporter? No. It means that we're acknowledging a basic fact about this lunatic's motivation.
This guy named Vance Bolter, of course it is, he's plainly a Trumper. Oh, come on.
No, go ahead.
He voted for Trump. He was at Trump rallies. He's a super duper Christian. His big issue was he hated abortion, that we were performing abortions. He had a list of 45 people. The 2 people he shot were Democrats, state Democrats. He had a list of 45 other people, all Democrats. The fact that so many people in your party, Donald Trump Jr., Representative Derek Van Orden, I don't know who he is, but he's a jerk, I think. He must be. Senator Mike Lee, all pretended that this guy, who's plainly a Trumper, I mean, look, we just admitted it happens on both sides.
Right.
But the level of lying here, Donald Trump, the guy who committed these atrocities this weekend is a Democrat. No, he's not. Mike Lee, this is what happens when Marxists don't get their way. Van Orden, this guy, he said he did it because the people he shot weren't far left enough. You know these are lies. See, I mean, you guys, I know
The pharmaceutical CEO that was murdered was wrong. The gentleman that did this is wrong.
And he's a Trumper. Just admit it, this one is a Trumper.
All right, at least he said it's wrong. Is that all? Is that what we can hope for now? At least say it's wrong. That was kind of a weird, he had to start with somebody else first, but okay. So that's where things stand on that. Share thoughts in the comments.